All right.
I'm much more fun than Mr. Winstead, but I'm gonna go downstairs. There's the food truck, and I'm parked in the bus stop. I gotta go fix that. Turning it over to Mr. Winstead.
All right, let's get into math and quit worrying about what Miss Bridwell has on her mind. All right, so what we're going to do today is what we call factoring. This is something that you will be using a lot, and just like yesterday's video, it's bright. Good new bulb.
I don't know.
But just like yesterday, we're going to start off easy in 6th grade. And as the year progresses, it'll get a little harder, and you'll be using this right here all the time when you get to high school, college, and it will become second nature to you. So what we're going to do is talk about factoring. So factoring is basically looking at two numbers and pulling out a common factor, okay? So what we're going to do, our goal is to make it look like the distributed property that we had yesterday as our final answer. So we're kind of working backwards. We have our, so if this was yesterday, this is the answer that we would have came to. So what we're going to do today is kind of work backwards to get back to the two numbers in the parentheses and a number on the outside. So that's what they call factoring. So I'm going to show you I'll call it the long way first, just to kind of show you how we get those numbers. And then Ms. Bridwell and I are both going to show you a way that is a little bit easier than having to list out all the factors. So what we're going to do first is exactly what you all learned when we did greatest common factor. So we have two numbers here. We have 50 and 20. So the first thing I'm going to do is list all the factors of 50 and 20. So 1 and 50, 2 and 25, and 5 and 10. So there's all the factors of 50. So that should look very familiar. And do the same thing for 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Which one?
I forgot. In my mind, I just forgot about 4 and 5 for some reason.
That happens. We've been off for a while.
Yeah.
So what I've done now is I've just listed out all the factors. So this is called factoring. So we're going to be using these factors to get our answer. So once we list out our factors, we like to build our skeleton. So we call it the skeleton, which is kind of like a blank shell of where our numbers will go. So if you'll remember from yesterday, the distributed property has a number on the outside, a parentheses, a number on the inside. In this case, we have a plus sign, so we have plus something else. So there's our skeleton. So it's just bare, no numbers in it yet. But so to get our answer, all we have to do is put our numbers in the skeleton. Now, Ms. Bridwell apparently thinks she's a comedian today.
Riddle's a comedian every day.
So, sorry guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our list of factors and we're going to find a common factor. So I'm going to skip one, but you can use it if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. So the first, we have a 2, we have a 5, and a 10. So we have 3 common factors between 50 and 20. So that means we can technically have 3 different answers. Okay? Does it matter which factor you pull out? Not necessarily. It depends on the situation you're looking for, but for our purposes right now, it doesn't matter. So the first thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to find me a common factor. So I see a 2 here. Alright? So what we put here is our common factor. So I picked 2. So that means I put a 2 there. Now it's super easy what goes on the inside. So 2 is here. Well, what number is next to the 2? A 25, right? So you put a 25 here. And a 10 is next to the 2 here, so we put the 10 in here. Now there's only one thing that I'm missing. In our original problem, we had a variable, an x. So that x has to be in our final answer too. Now the x goes with whatever factors were with the 50. And this right here was 2 and 25, so the x would go with the 25.
Now you want to make sure that you're very cautious on this. Mr. Winstead did a fantastic job. You want it to equal the 50x has to be first. So that's why he put his 25 here, not his 10. Okay?
And a good practice, guys, is once you get your answer, if you feel like, okay, this is my answer, you now have the ability to check that answer by using the distributed property that we learned yesterday. So just like yesterday, we can distribute that 2 to the inside to both numbers. Well, 2 times 25 is 50, 50x, plus 2 times 10 is 20. That checks out with what my answer is, so I know this is correct. Now, I said we could have multiple answers, and that is true. So, I've used these factors, but I have some more down here. So let's look at the 5. So I could also have a number of 5, 10x, plus 4. That could have been one answer if I used the 5s, if I chose to use that. Now if I chose to use the 10, which I marked that out by mistake, I shouldn't have done that, but I could have used the common factor of 10. And I could have used 5x plus 2. So all 3 of these answers are correct, and if you do the distributed property, they all get you back to 50x plus 20.
And
Now,
on your, real quick, on your TCAP test or your TN Ready test at the end of the year, this is their favorite kind of problem to ask you select all answers that could, or which expressions are equivalent, is what they'll say. Well, this is equivalent to this, and to this. So they'll all give you the same answer at the end. So TN Ready loves this. You need to be able to find lots of different ways to make that 50x plus 20.
because when you get up to higher math in high school, college, you'll be using factoring a lot to do a lot of canceling and to solve math problems. And you have to be able to know that, okay, I could use any of these, but which one's going to be my best, which one's going to help me out the most. Now, it could be this one, it could be this one, it could be this one, but you've got to know how to factor. So that's all that is. So you're looking at a factor, you're pulling it out to the outside, and what's on the inside is whatever's remaining. So if you use this GCF type method that we did here, it's super easy because you pick a common factor, and whatever number's next to your common factor goes on the inside. So that's one way of doing it. Now that's a long way to do it. If you understand that way the best, by all means, do it that way. Now, Ms. Brubel and I are going to show you a different way to do it, which is kind of using mental math. If you can use mental math, sometimes it's quicker, and sometimes it's not. So if you use mental math, you could make a mistake as far as missing a factor, but it's a little bit quicker. So we're going to let you choose whichever way you want to do it. So we have a problem here, 16x plus 40. So I know I want to factor, so the first thing I'm going to do is build my skeleton,
Now,
which
guys,
is, she does hers a little bit different than mine, but I like to put the parentheses and the plus sign and the little lines, so that way I know.
now the reason I don't do that is because for this problem, it's okay, but when we start dealing with your negative numbers and things, that operation right here could change, okay?
It could, but it's like,
So-
if this right here is negative, I can just put a negative there and rewrite it. So
Yeah.
either way works. I just like to put
Yeah.
that down so I know that that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so when I see 16x plus 40, I'm gonna pull out a number so I say, what number goes into 16 and 40? I'm gonna pick 2. I know they're both even, so I'm gonna pick 2. So 2 goes on my outside. Okay, 2 times what gives me 16? So I know 2 times 8x will give me 16x. Okay? Now, the next thing I'm trying to do, I've got 2 on the outside, so I need to get 40. So 2 times what gives me 40? And I know that that is 20. And you're only dealing with positives here, so my answer would be 2 times 8x plus 20 is equivalent to 16x plus 40. Okay, so that's what I saw. Let's see what Mr. Winston sees.
So for me, I know 16 and 40. I know that 8 will go into both of them. So
Sorry.
sorry. So I'm choosing 8 because I know 8 will go into 16. I know 8 will go into 40. So we're just using mental math here, just our math facts. So 8 times what gives me 16? And we should know that's 2, and our x goes with it. 8 times what gives me 40, which is 5. Now, the only problem.
All these are equivalent.
The only problem that I have with this way right here is it's like on a TCAP, it says which one of these are equivalent. Now there's another one that we missed by doing this mentally. Because I know that 4 will go into both of those, so 4 could have been a factor, so we could have had 4x plus 10, that's 1. And is there any more? 2, 4, 8, 16 will go into it. So that should be all of them. So that's all 3 of them there. So, and again, good practice is check to make sure your math is right, especially if you're doing it mentally. So, I mean, you don't even have to write it down for all our purposes right now. So 8 times 2 is 16x, so that's good. 8 times 5 is 40, so that's good. So we know that's correct. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 10 is 40, so we know that's correct. Over here at Miss Bridwell, 2 times 8 is 16, so that's good. And 2 times 20 is 40. So all 3 of those are correct and good answers. So on the Google form,
You won't have one.
no, you're just going to send us a picture of your work. So
Yeah.
never mind. So remember today's homework. Make sure you take a picture of it and send it to whoever your teacher is, whether it's me or Miss Bridwell.
Now, you only have to, for the purpose of your homework, you only have to do one of these, okay? You only have to factor it one way, all right? We'll do some TCAP test prep stuff where we help you with that in the classroom, okay? So we want to make sure we show you lots of different ways that you might see on your homework. Okay, that one's the same, so you'll be okay there. Now this one seems kind of simple, but you need to be able to see this just in case. Notice there's no variables here, okay? They're just numbers. You do it the same way.
So what we're going to show you, if it says to factor, we want to see the factors. Because a lot of times what we'll get on this answer is 20. Well, 20 is not your factor.
20 is, yeah.
20 is an answer to 100 minus 80, but it's not what we're looking for as far as this right here. So we're looking for you to factor.
So like I see this, I might pull out, I don't even know if there is another one of those. Oh yeah, there is. I'm gonna pull out a 10, okay? Yeah. So I'm gonna pull out a 10.
Way too long.
10 times 10, I know is 100. 10 times 8, I know is 80. So I have factored those two things, even without a.
So the factor that she pulled out was a 10. Now, again, multiple different ways to do this. I noticed that, okay, 180 are both even, so we should know that if both numbers are even, 2 is something we can definitely factor out, okay? So 2 times what gives me 100, that should be a 50, minus 2 times what gives me 80, which is 40. Now, again, good practice, go back and check. 2 times 50 is 100, 2 times 40 is 80, so that's good. 10 times 10 is 100, 10 times 8 is 80, both those are good answers.
Alright, last time that you might see, and it's really the same as what we've just been doing, but they could give you variables on both numbers, okay? You do it the exact same way. So looking at my numbers, 25 and 45. Let's just pull out a 5, okay? For sake of making this easy. Pulling out a 5. 5 times 5 gives me 25, and I know I have to add my little b to it. Okay, same thing, 5 times 9 gives me 45, and I have to add a d to it, okay? Now, this will get a lot more complicated. There's a ton, we could sit here for 40 more minutes and show you a bajillion examples. But we'll kind of go over this with you as we get into more complicated math problems, okay? And again, there's multiple answers to this one too,
Is there?
right? Well, no, wait a minute, 45 and
So I was trying to say the same thing.
1 and 25.
5 and 5.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So some problems don't have more than one answer. Like this one right here, there's nothing else that 25 and 45 share in common other than a 5, so we can't factor anything else out. So just remember, for the purpose of your homework, we're not asking you to pull out every single factor unless you just want practice and you want to do it. All you're required to do is just show us one correctly factored problem. So if we
Right here. Okay, so on your homework, guys, we are ignoring this first side. Okay, you don't have to do that, and we've written this directions down. We're only concerned with these 10 problems today, okay, where we're pulling out that factor, okay?
Now it says use a GCF, but we just want you to pull out a factor and correctly factor the problem. Like we said, you don't have to give me every single one, you just have to give us one correctly factored problem, okay? So, take a picture of that, send it to us.
So you're doing 1 through 10 on this side only.
And your right side. I know it's hard to see on this computer screen because I'm looking at it right now. But if you have any questions, email us your answer, and we will See you all later. Have a great day.